One man hijacked a plane, took $200,000, jumped into a storm, and was never seen again. More than 50 years later, no one knows who D.B. Cooper really was. In November 1971, a quiet passenger boarded Northwest Orient Flight 305 in Portland. Using the name Dan Cooper, he bought a one-way ticket with cash and carried only a black briefcase. He walked through the terminal without attracting attention. After boarding the Boeing 727, he sat near the back and lit a cigarette. Everything seemed completely normal. Then Cooper quietly handed a flight attendant a folded note. At first, she thought he was flirting, until she realized it was a threat. Cooper opened his briefcase, revealing what looked like a bomb. The flight attendant rushed to the cockpit and warned the pilots. The captain immediately knew the aircraft had been hijacked. Meanwhile, Cooper calmly smoked by the window as rain covered the glass. Without anyone noticing, Flight 305 changed course, and a legendary mystery began. Cooper demanded $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. The flight attendant immediately carried his demands to the cockpit. The pilots, the FBI, and airport officials began an emergency negotiation. Soon after, Flight 305 landed in Seattle under heavy rain. Police vehicles and FBI agents quietly surrounded the aircraft. Briefcases filled with $200,000 were delivered to the plane. Moments later, the 4 parachutes were handed over to the crew. Inside the cabin, Cooper carefully inspected the money and every parachute. Satisfied, he allowed all the passengers to leave the aircraft safely. Only the flight crew remained on board with Cooper. Then, he ordered the pilots to take off once again into the stormy night. The Boeing 727 disappeared into the darkness, carrying one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. The Boeing 727 battled a violent storm over the mountains of Washington. Cooper quietly put on his parachute as the crew watched in silence. He tightly secured the bag containing $200,000 to his body. Without saying a word, he stared into the darkness beyond the window. Lightning flashed as the aircraft shook violently in the storm. Inside the cockpit, the pilots exchanged worried glances but stayed on course. Outside, the Boeing 727 disappeared into the heart of the storm. Then, a lone figure vanished into the darkness below. The aircraft continued flying through the storm without Cooper. The captain realized the hijacker was gone. He immediately radioed the shocking news to the authorities. Search teams rushed into the mountains, but D.B. Cooper was never found. FBI agents launched one of the largest search operations in American history. Helicopters searched the dense forests for any sign of D.B. Cooper. Search teams combed through the wilderness with dogs and flashlights. The only clues they found were broken branches and fading footprints. Divers searched icy rivers, hoping to recover any evidence. Investigators studied maps and flight paths to estimate Cooper's landing zone. Inside FBI headquarters, every photograph, fingerprint, and report was carefully examined. Years passed, and hundreds of suspects were investigated, but none could be proven to be D.B. Cooper. The mountains remained silent, keeping their secret hidden. Despite every new lead, the mystery refused to die. The FBI eventually admitted the case had never been solved. To this day, the mountains of Washington keep the greatest aviation mystery buried forever. In 1980, a young boy discovered part of D.B. Cooper's ransom money buried in the sand. FBI experts carefully examined every recovered bill, searching for new evidence. The discovery made headlines and shocked the entire nation. Over the years, hundreds of suspects were investigated, but none could be proven to be D.B. Cooper. In 2016, after decades without answers, the FBI officially closed the investigation. The case files were placed into permanent archives, but the mystery remained alive. D.B. Cooper's face became a symbol of America's greatest unsolved hijacking. His daring jump into the storm remains one of history's greatest mysteries. The Boeing 727 continued its flight, but Cooper disappeared forever. Even today, investigators continue searching for the truth behind the legend. The forests and mountains of Washington still hide what really happened that night. D.B. Cooper vanished without a trace, leaving behind one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. And you, what do you think really happened?